and so many are part of it. These superb group of people are working so much to keep this book show going. Every week we have reviews from people all over the world, from India, UK, US, Africa, and multiple languages too, like English, Malayalam, Hindi, and Tamil. And now this show is part of Brain City. And let me tell you a story now. It is story time now, and story about a fish and a monkey. Now, this is a story of a fish who loved water, who loved his river. It felt very blissful swimming around in the clear blue waters. And one day, while swimming closer to the river banks, it hears a voice say, "Hey fish, how was the water?" Fish raises its head and sees a monkey on the branch of a tree. It replies, "Yes, the water is very nice and warm, thank you." The monkey feels so jealous of the fish and it says, "Why don't you come out of the water and climb this tree? This view from here is amazing." And the fish, feeling a little sad, replies, "I don't know how to climb a tree and I cannot survive without water." The monkey makes fun of the fish, saying, "You're totally worthless if you cannot climb a tree." Now the fish starts thinking about this remark day and night and becomes extremely unhappy, depressed. Yes, the monkey is right. It thinks, "I cannot even climb a tree. I must be very worthless." Now, a seahorse who was watching all these and seeing the fish depressed, it asks, "Why? Why is it depressed?" And when it hears the reason, listens to the reason, it laughs. If the monkey thinks you are worthless for not being able to climb the tree, then the monkey is worthless too because it cannot swim or live underwater. And hearing this, the fish suddenly realized that how gifted it was. And it had the ability to survive underwater and swim freely, which the monkey never could. It feels thankful to the nature for giving it such an amazing ability. So this story can be connected to Einstein's quote, "Everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, the whole life you will be believing that you are stupid." The fish would be believing that it is stupid. So with that story, we have to believe in ourselves. We have to connect ourselves to nature, our nature. And what is in for us may be good for, not good for other people, and what is good for us may not be good for us. So in that way, we have to connect everything to the nature. God sent. Our gift is God sent. Yes, now it is a privilege to meet you and talk to you and hear your opinions and comments every week about the two speakers. Now, handing over to Anil. Anil, please, to introduce the first speaker of the day. Yes, Anil?
Thank you, Sindhu. Thank you, Sulata. Let me introduce my first speaker. Something very special about first speaker. She's the first speaker coming for the second time on our platform. Vanita, can you believe that? You were the first person coming back onto the e-Bookery platform again for the second time. And she's a program quality director for Toastmasters, chaired several district conferences. Can you mute? Can you mute all of them? Yeah. Okay, I chaired several district conferences, program chair for C17, distinguished Toastmasters, 4 times Triple Crown winner, pathkeeper of team collaboration path, currently pursuing dynamic leadership, and charter president at We Speak Toastmasters Club, a PeopleSoft consultant at Oracle, biryani lover, Rajnikant fan, mom for 2 girls, advocate of kindness and gender equality, Vanita Rangarajan. Welcome on to e-Bookery platform.
Thank you so much. Hi, Anil. Now, just a little comment about the second time that I'm here on the show. Either I did a good job and you called me again, or I did not do a good job the first time, so you're giving me a second chance. Either way, I'm very glad to be here and having to review one other book with all of you here. Um, I want to give you a little heads up on why I chose this book in the first place. I've been literally since the COVID right now, I've been someone who's been multitasking and doing 3 full-time jobs. That's how I'd like to call myself. I have a full-time job at Oracle that pays me. And then I do a volunteering role at Toastmasters, which again is a lot of work, but doesn't pay me, but gives me great satisfaction in doing that. And having children at home 24/7 during a lockdown period is a whole different ball game. Not sending them to school, but sitting along with them for online classes and things like that. So over a period of time, over a few months into the lockdown, I found myself getting very anxious about things. I was not in a very calm state of mind. And a friend of mine, I want to say so much, thanks to that friend of mine, they recommended this book. While and I've already warned them saying I'm not getting the time to read anything, so forget giving me another book to read. I'm not even getting time to do the 3 roles that I've set out to do. And the first thing that they told me about the book was that you can finish it in less than 2 hours flat, and they were true about it. I could really finish this in less than 2 hours flat, and that's how I want to introduce this book to you. So if you are someone that does not want heavy reading, you want light things to read, this is a book that I highly recommend. The second thing that my friend said is that this is not gyan. Now, a lot of Zen Buddhism or books on Zen minimalism, if you are into it, talks about, it talks about theories after theories after theories. This book is that practical book. This friend did not give me the Kindle version. She actually sent me a hardbound book. So I have a book in front of me. It was so great because every time that I felt overwhelmed, I could just read few pages of the book, go back to it. And literally, if you see what I'm talking about, this is just every single point here on the book is just one page with, that it's just so little to read. It's one page and you can just completely get shut off and go back and pick up another page, which is this. So the highlight of the book is that it has 100 different ideas, 100 different practical ideas on how you can have a peaceful and a calm life. And coming from where I am right now, I needed the calm more than any time else. And so this book has really helped me. Now, when I talk about practical ideas, this book itself has 4 different chapters, and I'm going to just touch upon, because there are 100 different ideas and there's no way that I can memorize 100 different ideas. I'm going to tell you the ones that really, was important to me, but I would recommend you to go ahead and read the book anyway, because what might not work for you might work for me and the other way around. So I'd highly recommend that you go through this book. Now, the book is written by, like my Japanese pronunciation can't be on point, but I'm just going to assume that this is how he's called in the rest of the world. Shunmyo Masuno. Okay, that's the name of this author. Now, he's a head priest at a Zen temple in Japan. This is one of the oldest Zen temples. That particular temple where he's the chief priest or the head priest is actually open to the public, where people come in there and experience the joy of Zen gardens and look into calmness and meditation and just finding their inner self. So this is a priest who lives in the temple and talks about his daily habits and what they actually do and how that changes them. So a lot of it is about a monk talking to us. But you can, and the beauty of this is, when he talks to us about some ideas, he will tell you how you can do this in your everyday, your everyday work of like a corporate job or the regular routine that we have. How can you implement that? So for me, it looked like a good gift for someone who's dealing with a lot of mental anxiety, mental stress, or just anxiety, or just somebody who wants good health, mentally and physically. This is a good read in my opinion. So some of the things that really stood out for me, and I'm going to, I'll do this chapter wise itself, and I might have to refer to the points just to see which is the favorite one that I can actually talk about. a lot of times when, growing up, my grandfather would always say when I enter the house, to organize the chappal, just don't throw your chappal here and there. How many of you have had, I see only few of you on video, so I'm requesting for like a thumbs up or something. How many of you have had, someone tell you to just put your chappals in place? Or if you are parents right now, how many of you are actually doing it to your kids, organizing the chappals when you enter inside the house? Can you imagine how much it clears your head to organize a chapel? I did not know this impact that it would have. Similarly, they talk about organizing a desk. You remember, you've seen all kinds of desks at a workplace. You see how some of them keep it very organized. You literally know exactly what. And for some of them, you need to, dig into a work desk and find out like the file that you need or something. There are all kinds of ways to organize a work desk. Doing subtle things like this, how can they make an impact, is what the first chapter is about. Okay, and so the first chapter is about how to make subtle shifts in our everyday habits. Now, some of the things that really stood out for me is waking up 15 minutes early and not doing anything in the first 15 minutes. I have a dog. I've adopted a dog recently. And so the first thing that I do when I wake up is to take the dog for a walk. Otherwise, I end up, cleaning the dog, whatever the dog leaves behind if I don't take her for the walk. So the first thing that I've started to do right now is to keep an alarm and wake up 15 minutes early. And in that 15 minutes, I just go out without the dog and just look out and, get the morning air. Now, this is something that he had recommended in his, the Zen temple, that they do this on a daily basis. They just walk through the campus and how the morning air can open up a lot of things for you and thought-wise. So I like that idea a lot. How many of you here are into some kind of writing? Have anybody experienced the joy of calligraphy or anything that you can write with? So this is another thing that he had recommended, saying if you are someone that, can put thoughts to your pen on the paper, and every stroke, if you are being mindful of every stroke that you do. So calligraphy is something that he recommends. So if it's if you don't have a hobby, and if you have time in hand, and if you can give that concentration to this thing, I'd encourage you to do calligraphy. Just putting the strokes and slowly and carefully doing the strokes gives a lot of energy, mental energy is what he recommends. The other thing is, I talked to you about the shoes already. The one that stood out for me was the organizing of the desk. How just coming to a work desk, and I do that like at the end of my shift. I'm working from home right now, so I have like a balcony. Specifically, the study at the balcony is just for work. Just setting things right so that when I wake up in the morning and I finish my walk and I come, the desk being clean is such an energy booster in the morning. So organizing your desk, making sure it's clean in the previous night will energize the way that you start your day's work. He did talk about not neglecting meals. We all know that. We've all heard that at least once, right? Like don't skip your breakfast, eat all your meals, eat them on time. So those are things that they highly practice in the Zen temple. And so he had mentioned that. He also talked about the benefits of a vegetable-centric diet. Now, the whole world is going into, veganism. So one of the things that he recommends is, as much as possible, have as many vegetables possible in your diet. So that's one thing that was easy for me to implement. So I was only looking at those which I can actually come here and try at my house without, it just being something from the book. So that was one part. The other thing that I used to do wrong, like I've been having a very stressful time during the COVID. And every single time that I hit the bed, I would always sit and think about, oh my God, this was such a bad thing that happened today. I wish I had not done something, or, negative thoughts basically. So his recommendation is how only think of the pleasant things that happen just before you hit the bed. Gadgets, again, no. He didn't talk about the gadgets, but when you are able to just collect your thoughts and be grateful for all the good things that happen to you during the day, that's something that will energize you a lot better. So right now, what we do is at home, we when we go to sleep, we just think of all the great things that happen in our house. I'm not really thinking aloud, thinking on my own. I think aloud because I have 2 children to put to sleep. So we make it as a family activity. And we are all talking about the fun things that happened in the day. And that seems to work very well because we're sleeping happy. That was a good one. The Indian form of the namaste, it actually has a scientific, a Japanese relevance as well. So the one hand is about yourself, and this is anything else or anybody else. So when you bring both the hands together, it actually is a form of humility. You practice oneness with others and how you can live a life of harmony. So as much as possible, he recommends that we do this gesture. In our house, when we start our prayers, we kind of do this. And so that was a re-emphasis on, how this is so important and such a small thing, but so positive and impact is what we found out. Now, this is about the first chapter. Again, I only picked up things that was relevant to me and the family that I am running right now. But I highly recommend the book because there are 30 various ways in which you can, put these things into practice. Something that worked for me might not work for you, and something that works for you might have not been something that I mentioned here. The second part is about changing perspective. Now, I'm a team leader in Oracle, and most often than not, I find myself asking, is this not the only way that we can go about doing something? I always want to ask myself that, there should be another way to do a particular task. And as a leader, I feel that this is very important in any profession that we are in. It does not matter. And even if we are at home, just to make sure that we are listening and full of empathy and able to talk to the other person that we have an interpersonal communication with, it is so important to know that there are always two perspectives to any situation, and both perspectives can be right. So this was a game changer for me in terms of the second chapter. I mean, the second part of the book was telling me about various things about perspective. A lot of times I've noticed that I only look for things when I'm talking about myself, and I won't generalize this, but most often than not, I find myself telling people about the things that I don't have. How many of you do that? Telling people constantly about the things that, oh my God, I don't have this, or this is not working for me. He believes that just being positive or vocal about the things that we have changes the way that we look at life. So I started consciously telling. So when I had like this very rare gesture of a friend coming over, and I found myself saying, instead of cribbing about the COVID situation, I found myself saying how the COVID situation actually helped me to lose weight, brought focus, and we were able to bring a dog that I was never able to bring in my 38 years. Things like this, the same COVID situation which I was usually cribbing about. Now I looked at the positive side. So seeing what you don't lack is a game changer in how your perspective about life changes. There was a couple of things that he also talked about, and this is very useful for me in my Toastmaster leadership, that the role that I've taken in my Toastmasters leadership. Very simple things. It looks like grandmother's gyan, but it's so very important. You should not come across as a person who puts the blame on somebody else. And I've seen that the leaders that I've worked with in Toastmasters, they stand out because even though it's the mistake of somebody that reports to them, they would still take the blame. They will be the ones to face the brunt and then go back and fix this. They never put the person who actually did the mistake on the spotlight. And that for me was a big lesson when I was going through this particular then he talked about something called as zazen. Again, pronunciation could go haywire. I have no absolute link to Japanese. So there was a specific form of sitting, like our crossed legs sitting, if you were able to do that for some time of the day. And that could be the thing that you would want to do with the most mindful this thing. So that was one particular recommendation that was given. So we used to sit on the couch, watch TV most likely, but always sit together as a family. So what we changed right now is all of us sit on the floor and eating, just mindful eating, bending down and eating our food makes a big difference. All of us are suddenly so much more focused on the food that we eat. So that was one very good thing that I saw coming out of the book. So the way that we sit, our posture and sitting and eating this. We always think about one of the other things that we used to do was have a lot of wastage. How many of you think that you could do better with the things that we waste in a day? Do you cook too much and let it go waste? Do you have too many things and not use them and let it go waste? Anybody like that? So I'm someone who always makes sure there's food for at least one extra person. I'd rather have more food than have somebody go hungry in my house. And for me, I would invariably end up throwing food at night. What changed for me is that to find one person to feed after our dinner was over so that the food that we have does not go waste. So think about how you can not let things to go to waste is one of the recommendations that was given here. Um, how many of you have the luxury or the the capability of going to a park or getting in sync with nature? Have Do any of you have that? There's a park just right next street, and we've never visited the park. Never. And I say never. My kids play in the apartment play area down, but we've never been in contact with nature. So, as little as possible, if you can get in touch with nature in any form. And so, we're right now very mindful of the jogging track inside our apartment itself. There are beautiful flowers. Until just last week, I did not know that we had 38 varieties of flowering plants in our apartment. During the walks, my children and I counted. We saw the like some of them we even tried to look up on the internet to know their names, but we did not notice we had 38 flowering plants, all kinds of colors, and so beautiful. Being mindful, and when you are as much as possible can get in touch with nature, is again an energy refresher. The last but not the least, um, I've been someone who has a lot of self doubt. So I cannot dwell in the moment. I don't move on. One of the things that was recommended is that how you stop thinking about the problem and just move ahead. It might seem very easy for me to give you that kind of like a, an advice, but just being aware that I've been dwelling in the problem and not really focusing on the solution has been a big difference for me in the way that I tackle a problem. So that's one recommendation that I have. This is about part 2. Now part 3 that I had, this was a little more philosophical. This is where Zen Buddhism really comes into play. Like part 3 and part 4, they were mostly about things that we do. And I, being from the Toastmasters fraternity, I can't tell you how thankful I am, because a lot of those gave me an opportunity to be able to practice these. And again, we are looking at a lot of things like this. One of the things that talked about how we interact with others, that's part 3. So it's not really just about ourselves. Our influence on the others was the part 3. Developing a sense of gratitude. Now, I'm not sure if you're familiar with this already. There's something called as a gratitude journal. Have anybody tried writing a gratitude journal? This is something that we started very newly. I want to be able to tell this only after 21 days, because that's when you really cultivate a habit. I got like my kids to have a gratitude journal, just things that they're thankful for at the end of a day. Things that they are, they feel that others don't have, or their kindness act. What is it that they did so that somebody else can say thank you to them? Did they do something nice? A gratitude journal is something that I picked up from this book itself. Again, it's very easy to say things, but to do this on everyday practice. Now I can come here and comfortably tell you, please practice gratitude, please be thankful for everyone. But if you're not able to have a system in place that can make you practice it, it is not very effective. So I saw that the gratitude journal, because it's an everyday thing, you just wake up in the morning and think about you. What we also do is we read the previous day's gratitude, whatever we have written down, so that you start your day with great thoughts about things that went very well and such good things that you've done. And my children right now make it a point to do at least one good deed just because they want to fill that book. And so for me, that's like a win-win. Like they're writing things they're grateful about, and they also look for a reason. It could just be as simple as lifting. They just yesterday they picked up a cycle for a smaller child and brought that cycle all the way to that child's house. That's all they did. But the child said thank you, Akka, to one of my children, and for me my job was done. She came here and she wrote down saying I helped Aditri with the cycle, and for me she was making an attempt to do something good just so that she could fill up the book. I'm guessing without the journal, she will be able to be a more kinder person eventually. But this is a good way to measure how many things that we actually can be grateful about. Then the some of the other things that I saw in this is, I have a constant need. Again, this is very personal, that everybody should like me. I should be like Miss Perfect, and nobody should have like a problem with me. And I realized that it's not really possible. In Zen Buddhism, they talk about how you should give up that need to be liked by everyone, as long as you feel that this is correct, or this is good for you and your health, your mental and your physical health. You should be able to go about and do that. So this likability thing has considerably reduced. I won't say overnight I've changed into this thing and be lying about it, but knowing that I don't have to be liked by everyone has been a big game changer in the things that I do right now. I don't try to please everyone around, and I'm only able to focus on the things that give me strength mentally and physically. um, the other thing that I feel, again, very particular for me is that I get very attached quickly to a situation or a person very quickly. So skillfully being able to detach is something that I've, again, no success at all practicing. It's just a point that I've kept in mind. I hope that I'll be able to implement. In this itself, when they talked about interacting with others, family get-togethers was a big plan. I started that with immediately after that. I remember my family WhatsApp group will be full of good morning messages, good evening messages, and that's pretty much it. I started a conversation one day and said, my daughter did this. And then I sang an old song that my aunt used to teach me. So we have more meaningful conversations right now. I started it. The last couple of days, I have not posted anything on my family WhatsApp group, but there's a cousin of mine who has talked about something that he achieved at work. And then there is an uncle of mine asking questions about if we remembered a particular childhood vacation that we all took. So more meaningful conversations with the family. Again, we can't always meet together, but this has been one game changer. Also, it has taught me the importance of having those relations going along. I would always tell my father, every time my father would say, come and visit Chennai, there is a family function going on. I would always tell him, Appa, there's so much to do. I just cannot do this. There's a lot. But this time, just a couple of weeks ago, right after I started reading the book, I went on a day trip to Chennai. I took a flight in, out, went, attended that family function, met 40 other people with all the masks on and everything, and came back home. And my father said, this is something that I've not done in 8 years. It shocked me because I would only look at the most convenient things to do when it comes to family. So just having meaningful interactions with family is another way for a peaceful and a joyous living. Last one, part 4. This is about shifting your attention to the present moment. Now, I'm someone who cannot do meditation no matter how much I try. I cannot be that calm at all. People who have been able to meditate have really mastered their inner self. And I think it's a gift on its own if you're just able to, give that attention to your mind and your thoughts and just be able to meditate. For someone who has not been able to meditate so much, just having a lot of calmness in the way that, the 15 minutes early that I started, nobody else is awake in my house. That's my quiet time. That quiet time changes a lot of things. I close my eyes, not wanting to meditate, but just in my thoughts, and try and make sure that I'm conscious that it's all positive thoughts. That has worked very well. One of the other things that I've noticed is, all of these points that are positive emphasis is on, trying to be positive, make sure that there is, there's always another way. So look at 2 ways of convincing. There's, it can't be just that one way to do it. There'll be 2 things. Be physically aware of the seasons changing. So when it's between the seasons, are you seeing outside? Are you seeing, the birds chirping? Things that you can notice in nature is something that you're asked to be aware of. We've written down like a few things, and I saw that every single time we keep seeing that, it's more emphasis on doing it. Like, for example, we have like this place in our this thing saying, be thankful, be positive, be kind. It's just there all over in our the living room, so that the more I see it, the more it keeps reminding me again and again that that's what I'm supposed to do. Overall, like I said, there are like 100 things in this book, And it really will take me 2 hours if I had to go through everything. But I highly recommend this book if you are a light reader and you wanted something to just give an idea about all of those things that can be done so easily at home, reinforcing things that can make you calm, make you joyful, and make you have a peaceful life with little changes in the habits that we every day do, things that we do every day. This book can be a game changer. It is not a book of philosophy. It's more of practice. I love that about the monk, that he was able to tell me things that I can actually put into action, and not just something on the theoretical thing about Zen minimalism. So with that in mind, I'd be open to take any questions if there are any, or like I would be able to give you things that worked for me or did not. But this is all that I can remember of the 100 ideas. I hope it has been useful for you, a couple of them. I'd be happy to send you a link of the book in case you want to pick it up from, Amazon or just. Thank you for the opportunity, and back to you, Anil.
Thank you, Vanida. Very, very enthusiastic and spontaneous presentation, I would say. And about organizing things and everyday habits is something we have our turn now to advise our next generation. And one more thing, you don't look like a person who have children to advise. You look like a teenager who is making that energy that is within you. And yes, Sulada, maybe we can now invite 1 or 2 persons to comment about it.
Yes. Vanita, thank you so much. I simply loved the book review, and you have made it really interesting that any listener would want to go through the book in detail. And in fact, I could relate to most of the things that you have mentioned. The early morning quiet hours, enjoying the nature around, and the habit of saying vanakkam. I still do, bringing the 2 hands together. These days, in COVID days, when shaking hands has become a forbidden feat, this is the way we greet people, even Europeans, no matter from whichever country they are. We have all adopted this new style of greeting, corporate way of greeting, I would say. So in all those respects, I could really, really relate to your comments about the book. Sure, it is a short reader for all the listeners. And maybe we could also advertise for it, spread the word of mouth. And yeah, that's about it. So anybody else who would like to?
Simple and practical lessons.
Very true.
We all can relate.
Yeah.
Yes. Now.
And who would be the next in line to give a review or 2 about the book?
Yes, 1 or 2 persons can make it fast so that we can.
Let's call Nina ma'am. She's around.
Nina ma'am, yes.
Nina ma'am, can you unmute yourself, please? Yeah.
Semi-visible and audible kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right. No, I really liked it because there are 2 things. One, the book itself is very practical, as Vanita pointed out. The second is she has actually implemented them, so she knows what she's talking about, and she's talking to us from experience. That makes a lot of difference. So it's not just Gyan for the sake of Gyan or special performance for e-Bookery. So great review, and it's really the kind of review that would make us want to go and read that book. And I'm so happy that both you and your family are carrying out a lot of the things, and so many, and they're all just simple things, but which instill positivity and radiate positivity, which I think is so important in a world where we're looking for COVID negative results. So the more positivity we have, the better it is. Great job, Anita. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Back to you.
I've heard tons. I'll just take a minute and just talk about Nina ma'am. I've heard tons about her in the Toastmaster leadership journey. I've not had the opportunity to work with her personally, but she's someone that I've totally heard great things. Like, if you want to be a Toastmaster leader, then be Nina John, is what I've heard. So it means a lot that it's coming from you, Nina ma'am. Thank you so much for your kind words.
Thank you so much. Great job. Thank you.
Yes, now we can call Karthik.
Let's take a few more.
Yes.
Dr. Varadarajan or Parshuram, sir.
Dr. Varadarajan, sir. Rajamani, sir.
Rajamani, sir, yes.
Rajamani, sir, are you here? Dr. Varadarajan, sir. Karthik. Parashuram, sir. Yes, please.
Hello, Vanita. In fact, the review I would really appreciate was an excellent review about the book. But as such, most of the things that has been narrated, which you have yourself said are very practical things rather than the philosophy. So most of them are embedded in our Indian philosophy. In fact, the simple thing which I would summarize in an acronym called SAVERS. When you say SAVERS, I think have anyone heard about SAVERS? What SAVERS means? In fact, SAVERS means say yes when you get up in the morning, early morning. The S stands for total silence. You maintain total silence. Don't think anything about anything. And after that, next is the actualization, which stands for A. Then actualization, you say what I have to do for today, you actualize that. And then comes the visualization of that how I will be able to execute it. Then next comes the exercise. Then next comes the reading. And next comes the scribbling, which what Vanita summarized as writing, So all these are summarized in the simple word SAVERS. So very practical book, I would say, but many of them comes with your own experience in your family, and the people, as they say, that charity begins at home. So in the family, if persons are there to guide you, in fact, I would be proud to say that my father, what Vanita said in the beginning about the Chappal story, that he was very, very particular, and even Mr. Anandanarayan, Major V.V. Narayan would appreciate that he was very, very particular about things to be in its own proper place, and he used to scold us if things are not there. So having come in that background and grew up in the background, it has become part and parcel of our life. So anyhow, the book is for the new generation people who haven't had time to assimilate our Indian philosophy. No doubt it's a good book. And I would say that if it enthuses many of the audience and persuade them to read, it's really a wonderful thing to happen.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Now, Dr. Venkatesh, what is your opinion about the review?
Yeah, I'm glad to note that youngsters these days are trying to find out how to go about doing things from such books. See, in the mad rush towards things, I'm very glad to find that Vanita is finding time to read and organize herself. See, as I was a practicing scientist in my career and retired about 10 years back. So as a scientist, it was very much particular that I organize things in a very proper way, in a highly systematic fashion. So I used to instruct my students also how to organize each and every step they are doing. It was very much important because when we are describing things, it has to be highly systematic and it has to be perfect. So in each profession, I think there is some sort of an organization which people do by themselves. And whether it is, say, a corporate executive like Mr. Parshuram or in the services like Mr. Major Narayanan. But I was very glad to find that as a young lady, she is trying to find out ways and means how to go about organizing things for herself in her everyday life. And this book has certainly given a very good inspiration for her. And I hope that this message gets across to many youngsters also, because I find that there are not many youngsters in the audience today. And it would have been very useful to a lot of youngsters if they had the opportunity to listen to her and also get across to access the book and then read and then understand and then organize themselves. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we can move on to the next speaker now. Anil.
Sure.
Yes,
Sure.
Smrita.
Yeah.
So Anil,
Yes.
please introduce the next speaker. Yes.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Sindhu. Thank you, Vanida. It was a powerful, wonderful session again from you. And coming to my second speaker for the day, what can I say about Major Narayan? Thank you. First of all, thank you very much for your unfailing support towards e-Bookery community, Major Sab. Major Narayanan is beyond of any formal introduction. He's a hardcore supporter and a great mentor for e-Bookery community. Now, do I have to certify his oratory skills? I'm not
Mr.
very sure.
Chennai अभी आएंगे speech.
Can you mute all? Can you please mute? Yeah. Thank you. Major Narayan is a charter member of Chennai Articulators Club, a postgraduate in economics from Madras University. He was a Mr. Madras during the early 1980s and the state champion in weightlifting. He had represented India in South Asian Games in the martial arts in Silambam, an army commando by profession, a skillful bamboo flute player, deeply passionate in hypnosis, NLP, transactional analysis. And his famous tagline is never stop learning as the universe never stops teaching you. Coming to the book in 1953, The Old Man and the Sea was awarded the Pulitzer Prize for Fiction, and it was mentioned by the Nobel Committee as contributing to their awarding of the Nobel Prize in Literature to Hemingway in 1954. Friends, well wishes, help me in welcoming Major Narayanan into the Bookery platform.
Am I audible and visible?
Yes, you are.
Just a minute.
You need to mute your second system, yeah.
I just muted one of these systems.
Perfect.
Is it okay now?
All good.
Okay now.
Fine. The book is Old Man and the Sea. Author is Ernest Hemingway. Hemingway was an American author who was born in 1899 and he took leave of this earth in 1961. Born and dead in the month of July. He was a great American author, a journalist, a playwright who had written 7 novels, 6 short story collections, and 2 non-fiction, of which posthumously 3 novels, 4 short story collections, and 2 non-fiction have been published. His work, which I'm going to speak to you for the next 15 minutes, will not take more than that, was awarded the Pulitzer Prize in 1953 and got reinforced by the Nobel Prize in 1954. He had also written scores of other books, and he was also witness to the famous Normandy landing and the liberation of Paris. And he enrolled as an ambulance driver and took part in the war, First World War in Italy. And that made him write a famous novel called A Farewell to Arms. And this book, which I'm going to review, I had read this when he was in my 7th or 8th standard. 2 or 3 times I had read about it. And I did buy a copy of this book, but I did not go through it. I can just show this. It's a very, very small book. Just all 5 inches by 7 inches, 99 pages. Very short and pithy book. It is published by Random House as well as Arrow Books. And the sources of the author are primarily because he had spent considerable time in deep sea fishing. And the greatness of this book lies in the fact that it is not a novel, it is not even a short story, it is a hybrid. It is something between that. It is called a novella. A novella is typically neither as long as a novel nor as short as a short story. And it was published in the special edition of the 1951 November issue of the famous Life magazine. Just remember, he written this as one of the articles, slightly longish articles, which is carried by the Life magazine. And the thing is, that particular copy sold a whopping 5.3 million copies. And the copies are still valued as the collector's editions, and it sells as high as 200 USD. And going by the success of the book, it was published as a separate book in the year 1952. And this story starts, it has been set in a place off the Gulf Stream of the coast of Havana. What is amazing is the felicity of expression, the economy of words, and the economy of characters. They just got all of three characters: an old man, a young boy, and a giant fish. Normally people would say old man is supposed to be the hero, the protagonist. But in my opinion, it is the fish which can be considered, rightly so, as a hero. Why? We'll just go into the book. Story is very, very simple. Story deals with the exploits of its title character. The old, impoverished, but admirable, is a Cuban fisherman, by the way. His name is Santiago. And over a course of time, of 3 days, the story starts with the aging fisherman who catches an enormously large fish called marlin, and he takes his boat out to the Gulf Stream, hooks onto the marlin. It is so large, it starts pulling the boat with the sheer force, size, and scale. He struggles with this fish for the next 3 days and finally conquers it. And this Santiago comes back carrying his war trophy, I should say, because he harpooned the marlin, secures it in his boat because it is supposed to be fetching a great price. As we're just coming back, a lot of sharks encircle Santiago's boat, and his marlin is reduced to pieces. It's been reduced to bones. By the time he returns to the shore or the harbor, that's a small boy. And this guy is a devoted Shishya, or disciple of this master. And he is his former apprentice who always cares for him. And again, they decide to fish together. The thing is, Santiago has been without a single fish for as long as 84 days. And the apprentice, to whom he has been his protege, his parents decide that he's not a very good representation to allow their son to be with him. And they lift him off him and then put him to latch him on to some other fishermen who are supposed to be more successful than Santiago. For the first 40 days, the young man and the old man go to the sea. From the 41st day onwards, Santiago himself goes to the sea alone. And this boy always comes and meets him at the evening, receives the harbor, ties his ropes, carries the skiff. Skiff is a small boat, and then helps him get on with his life during the night and also the next day. This is in short the long and short of the story. And the narrator, though Santiago, the old man, is not the novel's narrator, the tale is related from his perspective and through his consciousness. The style is amazingly simple, irrepressible as ever, and cuttingly candid and provocatively truthful. Earlier, Santiago has seen better days as a fisherman, while his younger competitors keep on regularly bring their impressive catches into the harbor. He's stuck in the middle of a long losing streak that lasted for several months, which is 84 long days. Finally, when he's able to bring his prize catch, by the time it has been reduced to a long sheet of bones, a lot of people come and adore his catch. And he just goes about like a true karma yogi. He goes about his normal ritual of going to his shack and spending the night. As I already said, it has got the Pulitzer Award for the best fiction, and the Nobel Peace Prize was given for literature in 1954. What is strikingly unique is the timeless vision of the beauty and grief of the man, and his challenges to the elements in which he lives in. The writing style, the Guardian says, it is as taut, it is as tight, and at the same time, that is as flexible and cunningly played out as the line on which the old man plays the fish. He uses his bait, uses the line as a bait to get the fish. And this story is also told equally as evocatively as he's been using the line. The story opens Santiago, so luck having gone bad, as he's not caught a single fish for 84 days. And his young fisher protege, whose name is Manolin, had been forced to leave because of his parents. The central theme of the story is always, as always, the triumph of human spirit. Even though he lost his catch, the old man still retains his dignity, and Santiago's strength of will, the mental will, prevails in a struggle with the great fish. For the fish, even the skeleton of the tile is enough to impress the tourists of the Havana Island. And there are a few exclamation points in this piece. One, with his great experience and strength, Santiago struggles with the fish for 3 long days. And he admires its strength, dignity, and faithfulness to his identity. That is, it wages a losing war against this guy. And its destiny is as true as Santiago's as a fisherman. Both of them don't stray from their dharma or the chosen path. And finally, he reaches the marlin into his boat and lashes it. When he comes back, the rest of his fishermen, his counterparts, are amazed at the size of the skeleton which is lashed onto this boat, because a lot of sharks take the flesh and they take a heavy toll of his prize catch. The approach to this novel is highly philosophic because he gives away the head for the fish bait and gives the boy the fish the bill, the remaining portion. You'll find a streak of reality in this book. The trash floating on the harbor, waiting to go with the tide. He just brings it, and then he just keeps it, and then goes back to the shack for his daily round of a small pig. He takes it, and then he goes back. And the important thing is the characteristic economy of words, economy of language. It is called the Iceberg Theory. He believes in the power of the unspoken word, Ernest Hemingway. And he says Iceberg Theory means only 1/8 of the piece will be out. I'll be writing only 1/8. The remaining will be, I leave it for the readers to decipher. And he uses his, famously, he deals with the ideas of men who will be there to prove their worth by facing and overcoming the challenges of nature. He very eloquently weaves the story in an unbelievably short narration. The main strength of the story, as I would like to reiterate, is the economy of words, the economy of expression. Additional information is, marlin is a fish with an elongated body, a spear-like snout or a bill, and a long, rigid dorsal fin, which extends forward to form a small crest. Its common name is thought to derive from its resemblance to a sailor's marlin spike. Spike is what the sailors use to catch a fish. 3 main days he spends in the sea. First day, that is the 85th day, he catches a very large marlin. The old man waits for the fish to surface before tiring it out, but this never happens. When the night falls, the small boat was pulled far out into the deep sea by this fish. Santiago allows the fish to carry his boat, and the very next morning, when he sees the marlin jump, he greets his enemy, and the marlin also, so to say, smiles at his chosen enemy, and both of them get buoyed. They start fighting each other, they start teasing each other, start pulling each other. And the next day, 86th day, his energy is absolutely exhausted. Santiago, his hands being very deeply cut from holding the rope tightly, and realizes there's too large a fish which can fit into the boat, and he ties his catch to the boat's side. And the next day, 87th day, there's only 88th day. I'll finish quite fast. 87th day, a lot of sharks begin to appear. And large shark, which is called mako, from the species of mako, rips a huge chunk of flesh from this catch. The old man fights the shark, and the smell of blood gets the other sharks onto the boat. And by the time night is there, the entire sharks have ripped the marlin to pieces. The final day in the story, 88th day, he steers his boat toward the lights of Havana, and upon reaching the shore, he carries his ear, falling several times over due to exhaustion. At the pier, his fellow fishermen, who've been marveling at the skeleton of the large fish, which is absolutely larger than what they had ever seen in their life. The old man was greeted by Madeline, his protege, who urges him to rest and to prepare for another day's fishing, and then they would go out again together. Story ends here, but not without giving us a lot of insights and profound learnings. The key learning, if at all any of you would like to take a bow from now, you can take this particular line. Santiago repeatedly says, a man can be destroyed, but not defeated. And the irony is, Santiago has finally caught a fish which is stripped bare by the sharks. Thus, he's been both lucky as well as unlucky. Lucky because even at his age, he's the oldest of all fishermen in this harbor. Even at this age, he's been able to land a very, very big fish, quite a massive one. He's unlucky because his prize catch has been eaten away by the shark, leaving him with absolutely nothing. And Santiago's accomplishment of catching such a gorgeous and grand fish is not acknowledged by these people who do nonetheless manage to see that his fish is in some ways very, very impressive. Santiago himself, the fish is no longer identified or known for his greatest attributes, though these attributes are still present. The only consolation is there is a connection between Santiago and his great catch, which is solidified with people who have never even seen Santiago. His prowess has been proven by the observation made by one of the tourists who come there to the shore, and they see only echo of the skills and strengths and significance of Santiago's epic fishing day. That is the only remnant which is there in the harbor. And a group of tourists come, and they're absolutely taken in by the length of his catch, and they just couldn't believe that there's a single person who's been able to catch such a large fish. The memorable take place of the book is when he sleeps at the end of the story, that is the last paragraph, he does not dream of the fish or of its glorious battle, but of the lions he saw as a small boy on a beach in Africa. The home truth is, far from being a great hero, Santiago will, no doubt, wake up the next day and go fishing. He's a true karma yogi, as I already said. He just believes in the dictum of just do your duty, forget about the rest or forget about the fruits. And he achieves it through existential meaning in response to his spiritual quest or spiritual failure. And the skeleton of the marlin is evidence of his skill as a fisherman. Though it is nothing but bones, Santiago has won back the lost respect from his other fishermen. They exclaim, he was 18 feet from nose to tail. A fisherman comes and measures it from head to toe. And the proprietor of the ice factory says, what a fish it was. There has never been such a fish. And this novel has been criticized because this novella had won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1954. It drew criticism because its size was too small for a novel. As I've already said, it is not a novel. It's a cross between a short story and a novel. And Ernest Hemingway, being the great philanthropist that is, he had donated this entire amount which he received by way of Nobel Prize to the Cuban Catholic Church, because he's a devout Catholic. The fish, even by its death, it has retrieved the dignity and given what is called the spiritual fulfillment for Santiago. He was exhausted and defeated. Santiago is ironically victorious because he says a man can be defeated but cannot be destroyed. And when he sleeps, he dreams as he has done as a child. He dreams of the lions. Though Santiago's valiant battle to keep the shark from the giant Merlin, he loses the struggle, but he's not defeated because he fought with all his strength and courage. The highlights of the book are Manilyn's affection for the old man. Manilyn, the boy, is so strong that he would beg or even steal to provide him with a good bait and food. And the boy relishes the old man's stories of the past and adventures, and he acknowledges what is called the American baseball team and his primary hero, the good old DiMaggio. Long a widower, the old man Santiago has no longer dreamt of his wife, but continues to dream of lions which have been roaming on the beach of Africa. The ending is quite gratifying because the tourists ask the waiter, what is it? The guy says, tiburon, which means shark. In typical Spanish, he says, e-shark. He adds the letter E. He says, I don't know sharks had such handsome and beautifully formed tails. One of the tourists exclaimed. I didn't either, the male companion to the lady says, while the old man is busy asleep with the boy at his side, and he dreams of a distant shore and how to go about for his next day. The story ends, and with that, a most moving narration of what is called The Old Man and the Sea. The point to be noted is the entire story deals with the travails, tribulations, and the struggles of man against nature, the elements of nature, and also against its price catch. Being a person who had been through both the wars, he had observed the Second World War and took part in the First World War, in Italy, First World War. He knew what war is all about. And in this particular book, after he received the Nobel Peace Prize, it is rumored that he was the only person, only author who got paid, not for the book that he wrote, he was not paid for the pages, not paid for the paragraph, not even for the sentence or line or even word. Guess what? He was paid for every letter that he typed on his typewriter. He got $1. Such a highly paid author, I should say. And he had taken part in bullfighting as a young lad, and he had taken part in deep sea fishing, and is known for his drinking feats and known for his brawl in the liquor den. And he has never lost a fight, it says. And I have a small, I got a similarity with him. I'd also taken part, I was also part of the army. And one dissimilarity is Ernest Hemingway had 4 wives. After each war or after each battle, he used to come and divorce his previous wife and go on for a new one. There, the similarity and the dissimilarity. It's a famous book. It's quite short, all of 99 pages. You can always read it in one sitting. I have not done it for the past more than 40 years. I have not done it. I do want to read. This is a book that I just bought. I'm supposed to be reading it, but whatever I've been able to commit in my memory, I just made a small PPT and presented it to you. I should thank my naval friend Sudevan for having been kind enough to prepare the PPT, and a great thanks to Anil Thomas and a lot of people who joined this book review and tolerated my book review. There are 2 types of people always give happiness to other people. One, when they start speaking. The second, when they stop speaking. You must be wondering, I belong to the second category. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the wonderful review of a very classic, amazing book, Major Sir. So you have put everything in a nutshell, and I felt like sitting in my MA class once again, all the aspects, all the themes put together as usual. Your review was wonderful, Major Sir. And is of course, Hemingway is known for the impact of the words he creates with the choice of the words he has. And it is a very simple book with a deep meaning inside it. And I would recommend all of you to read it book. We have to face the challenges in life and with determination, I hope. Yes, what do you think about it, Sulada? And then after that, we can invite...
A very great review. It's a classic read. Like you rightfully said, it took me back to my MA days. where it was the play was actually simulated in the classroom, you know. So it was really fun. And the best punchline is a man can only be destroyed but never defeated. That's a message to take home into your workplace, into your home, and into your hearts. And it is sure to, we are sure to reap results if you practice that, not just in philosophy, but in real life too. And the punchline he is delivered at the last is more interesting. Some people, when they start talking, is very inspiring. Some people, when they stop talking, is much more inspiring. So fantastic. It was a good review, a very good classic book review. We have a few people who are quietly listening, like you have Palani Chami, Sukanya, Aruna. So maybe you should be calling them one by one.
Yes, yes. Yeah, we have enough time. Yeah, please call a few more people. Yeah.
Okay,
Gunasar.
okay. I would like to ask one question to Mr. Major Narayan. Very important questions to him. You know, Hemingway book means suddenly in my mind, The Farewell to the Arms will come. Because that is a fantastic book. Why Major didn't select that book instead of that, this book? Because this book is very small book, and even though it got Nobel Prize and all these things, why Major didn't select that particular book? Because it's more connected with the Major's activities. A Farewell to the Arms.
I would say Farewell to the Arms is one.
Do you like that book, Major?
Just a minute. Am I audible?
Yes.
Farewell to Arms. Just a minute.
Some echo sound is coming.
Yeah, just. Better? Is it better now? Farewell to Arms is.
So maybe because you are logged in from two mobiles, two systems.
How is it now?
Now it's okay.
Okay.
Am I audible now?
Yes.
Yes, Major.
Am I audible now?
Yes, Major.
Audible, right, fine. Farewell to Arms is one which is supposed to it is supposed to be a call to stop the war. In his own words, Farewell to Arms opens with a fusillade of bullets, and his protagonist is called Harry, and he says, I've written this book calling, I joined the war to end all the war, and I've written this book to end all wars. So he said, Farewell to Arms is a much better book. Apart from that, Farewell to Arms, he has written all the happenings in the war. He says, even in 1918, which he said, he joined the army, and he has narrated the courage. He recreates his experiences of the war, the comradeship of the young American volunteers and the men and women he had encountered all the way to the war. And it is known for its candid conviction and brutal honesty. But I did not select that because the entire world is rife with a lot of problems. This is a time for me to offer hope and succor to humanity, especially to the people who have been here joining this community. I thought instead of going for the Farewell to Arms, The Old Man and the Sea has got a lot of insights for the commoner who's been struggling with life right now. There's yet another book called For Whom the Bell Tolls, a short story collection. And he's also written a great novella, again, To Have and Have Not, and True at First Light. And he's also written a lot of other books for which he's awarded and featured. But I particularly chose this book so that it is pregnant with meaning for the current generation. Thanks for bringing this question, Dr. Rajamani, sir.
Thank you, sir. Actually, only one second, I want to tell you one thing. Life of the Pi is a very big award-winning movie. And that director told because of this particular novel only he got that idea. So it's a brilliant book, The Worldman and the Sea, and we used to read it again and again. Thank you for reviewing the book in a very interesting way, Major.
Thank you. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
Can we call Guna sir, Sindhu?
Yes. Guna sir, please.
Yes. Thank you very much, Major, for this wonderful book review. In fact, that quote at the end you said we have a different meaning. All the people will give happiness when for some people when they are coming, for some when they are going out. So we used to write like this in our office also. All the people will give happiness when some people come, when some people go. This is the quote that we have. And this Ernest Hemingway, it's a new introduction to me, and I have not. I have heard that book, that the first one, Farewell to Arms, but I have not read. But it is an awesome introduction to me, and thank you, Major, for all the time you are bringing so much knowledge to all the people. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. For those who are interested in Tamil literature, the same book has been translated twice by two different authors. First book is called Kadalam Kidavanam. The next book is called Kidavanam Kadalam.
Wow.
So two different authors translating the same piece and giving their own, bringing their own perspective and perception to the entire story. Kadalam Kidavanam, Kidavanam Kadalam. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Who else shall we call on?
Can we call Sunita if she's around?
Sunita?
Yes, yes, Tarun
Yes.
ji. Good
Yes.
evening. I'm sorry.
Looking
Good
forward to
evening.
your views,
Camera.
Sunita.
Yes. So after listening to the entire presentation about Ernest Hemingway and the book, and I'm actually a great fan of him because I have heard his stories and I've read his stories even in a time of when I was in school and I was in college and university. We always had to refer to classics, and I believe that Ernest Hemingway was a major classic at that time, along with the other authors as well. But Ernest Hemingway always had a mark of how he wrote his stories. And you truly said, Major, that his words made a very, very impactful way on any person who's reading them, because he definitely created a stance in his way of speaking, a stance in his way of explaining what he wants to say, but he leaves it as an open book for a reader to understand what they want to read. So he's not close-minding them, but he's allowing them to speak of their own wish or of their own desires, that creates the wonder of reading the entire book until it's the end.
Thank you, Sunita. Yes.
Sorry. Yes. Thank you so much.
Yes. What about Ankit? Ankit, I think, just joined. Ankit?
Hi. Good evening, everyone. I am late to the party. I missed a major part of Major's rendition of the book, but I could get a glimpse of the last pieces. And as always, Major is known to sum things up in a very beautiful manner. I surely would actually look at the book from YouTube on his video and review. But yeah, I believe I hearing everybody else, I believe I've missed a great session. So sorry, Major, but maybe I'll catch up with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ankit.
Any new phases?
Rogers is on board.
Is Rogers here?
Yeah, he's joining from Africa. I'm not very sure whether he can. Rogers, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, we'll take someone then.
Now, Vasundhara. Karthik. Aruna. Anasuya.
Santosh.
Yes. Santosh Kumar. Please unmute yourself, and we have time.
Okay, let's go to the Nina, ma'am. Again.
Yes, Major Sir, what was your experience about the review today's? And I think Vanita is gone now, so we can have only your.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed recreating from the innermost recesses of my memory what I had read long back, and I was able to give words to my feelings. So I made to read this book so thoughtfully given to me by one of my colleagues, Mr. Santosh Badugu, who's been there in this platform. He helped me buy this book, but since I could not go through this book because I was in another platform, e-Bookery, Tamil show. Nevertheless, I'm quite happy that I've been able to do justice to what I read as a small boy. And whatever little I knew, I was able to prepare a small PPT.
Good evening.
Thanks to Sudevan. And in a manner of around 20 minutes, I thought I've been able to make a fair deal about this book. And Ernest Hemingway, as I already said, is regarded as one of the best American classical novelists of all time. He's written very, very short, small books. He's not known for his large size writing, verbose sentences. He makes it as short and cryptic as possible. Even one word or one line or one sentence, you can't remove them. The entire meaning will change. And he's known for his other books called For Whom the Bell Tolls, which is nothing but his experience of the Spanish War, and all his short story collection merit a lot of mention. I thoroughly enjoyed being in this platform. It is always good to be in the other side of the spectrum. I always joined in as an audience. Now I am joined here as a reviewer. And thanks for the opportunity, Faisal and Anil Thomas.
Thank you, sir. Even this book can be connected to the futility of war, because Santiago at the end, the shark is reduced to pieces. Nothing is left. The victory, what is a victory meant to be? Since Santosh Kumar sir, you just presented the book to Major sir, please, can you say something about the book? You would have definitely read the book.
Hello.
Yes.
Hi,
hello.
ma'am. Day before yesterday, I saw the book only, ma'am, because I am not completely go through the book. Because when the Major sir, whenever he is telling about, because this is the first time I am attending this forum. So thanks to Major sir. So going forward, I will attend all these meetings because very good. We will improve all the areas, the communication wise and other things. Because first of all, my sincere thanks to Major sir, because this is the first time I am attending this meeting. And before that also I hear the Vanita's review, because they're very nice. This is also very good, sir. So going forward, I will go through the entire thing and I will update clearly, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
May
Anyone
I add?
else? Yes, Neena, ma'am.
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Major, for an excellent review. I absolutely loved the language that you used. It's just, really worthy of Hemingway, so to speak. And what I wanted to say is that one of the reasons why Hemingway is such a classic is because if you look at it from the modern point of view, and I think we've had this almost as a cliche in movies and books and all, reaching the top of the corporate ladder or whatever success you have, at the end of it, when you look back, what do you actually have in hand? Is it a skeleton? Is it just a mirage? What were you trying to get after 30 years of corporate life, after 30 years of striving for something? Was it worth it? What have you gained as a person? What have you lost as a person? So I think if you look at a book from that point of view, everything that he said is still valid. And so that is why we need to look at these books again and again and understand what was the author trying to say and what can we get from that book? What are the life lessons we can get from that book today? Back to you, ma'am.
Yes, exactly, Neena ma'am. That is it. Thank you. Thank you for the review. Now, Sukanya has just written that it is her first session. How was your experience, Sukanya?
Hello, ma'am. Good evening, everyone. It's indeed a very pleasant experience. This is the first time I am attending an book review session, and I was overwhelmed with the way the book reviews were explained. And I'll ensure that it brought inside a curiosity to read these books, and also I'll make it a point that to attend such sessions every time whenever I get the opportunity. And the language usage of language, I simply loved it. Both the Zen explanation and the Old Man in the Sea. Major Sir's like a speech I have heard before also. He's always very famous for his usage of words, and this time also I was happy as always. So happy being in this session. I'll ensure that whenever I get opportunity, I'll be a part of such sessions.
Of course, thank you. Because our next session we have our own Ankit and Praveen Singh as speakers. Hope you all will be part of that too. Now, anyone else or else we can wind up. It had been a very, very fruitful day, fruitful with two amazing speakers. And thank you, Sulada, for being a wonderful co-host also. Anil sir and Faisal and Niaz, they are not here. Yes.
Thank you so
Anyone
much.
else?
It's been wonderful to be part of this show. Thanks to Anil and you, Sindhu, and all the people who are here as part of the team, making it more enterprising. Great session indeed, and great lessons to take home. So wonderful, in a nutshell to say.
Yes, Anil. You have to unmute, Anil.
Really, sorry, sir. But thank you, Mehta, for coming on to e-Bookery platform as a speaker. So this is the first time you are on the platform as a speaker. We loved it as always, and thank you each and everyone for coming on the e-Bookery platform. Please look into the chat box. The WhatsApp group link is given in the chat box. So please join our WhatsApp group so that you get all the updates. And thank you very much. Thank you very much, Nina ma'am, Rajamani sir, Sunita, Badagu, Aruna, Vasudhara, Anasuya, Ankit, Rogers, Sukanya. Thank you very much. Thank you for today.
Thank you all once again.
See you next week.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh.
Yes, good night.
Good night, all.
Good night, and a wonderful performance, Sidhu and Tasula. That was great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anil.
That was really great.
Till next week. Bye-bye. Time to sign off.
Will we see you again? Yeah. Bye.
Good evening.
See you, Rogers. Take care. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you, Mr. Anil.
Thank you. Rogers is going to be our e-Bookery Africa leader.
Oh, wow.
So we're going to start one chapter for Africa alone.
Oh,
so he's going to be the, yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. That's going to be in English.
Best wishes, Rogers.
African literature is always very interesting. I would love. Powerful. Yeah, very powerful, very poignant. No words to describe the African literature. Wonderful.
And they have a lot of speakers from the African continent. So we're planning to open one chapter for Africa alone, but it's going to be in English.
Great.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you.
All right. See you and good night. God bless.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Lata. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.